And I came across one of your ads, and on a Friday and Monday I was in the class. I just said, "Hey, this looks great. I'm in," and I
Wait a
enrolled.
minute. Hold on. You actually found us on a Friday,
Yep.
and then the next week you were in class?
Yeah, I called up right away. I said, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is something I could do from home. I could help people, and it's not going to be full time. Exactly what I wanted.
Well, I'm fascinated by this. I'm just going to hinge around here for a couple seconds because we have people that look at us for like 6 years before they pull the trigger. I think our average time is about 4 to 5 months, to be honest with you.
Yep.
But you just did it in like 48 hours. I mean, what was it about us that made you feel comfortable?
I read all the. I've been in finance my whole life. I'm a CPA by trade. I've worked in banks. I work for hedge funds. I work for brokerages. So I understand the finance industry pretty well. And I looked at what you guys provide as far as training. I said, this is exactly what I need.
There are just too many commercial loan brokers that don't have a damn clue of what they're doing. All we're trying to do here is better the industry for everybody. At the end of the day, you can make great money in this industry, but in the end, it's all about helping people. You know, people always say, "Kris, how can I be a successful broker?" It's 2 words: hard work and dedication. If you don't like talking to people, you probably shouldn't be in this business. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Entrepreneurs in Finance on this wonderful January day. This will be our second podcast of 2022. Happy New Year, everybody. And before I begin, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Commercial Capital Training Group, where you could catch updates on video content and future podcast episodes. On this episode, I am proud to interview Christopher Daniels, who is the CEO of Palm Capital Funding Services. And Chris, it looks like here you were a April 2020 graduate. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. A proud CCTG grad.
All right. Well, no, I appreciate that. And I assume in 2020, right? I mean, we were all virtual then. So you attended our virtual class. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited to interview you. As I always am excited to interview all of graduates, but particularly ones that came out of the pandemic, which was interesting because you came into this during the pandemic, right? And started this business during the pandemic. But before I get to that, tell me about your life leading up to CCTG briefly, and what led you, what caused you to kind of search for something, and how did you find us?
Yeah, so it's unusual. I was retired from a hedge fund after 10 and a half years, and I wasn't going to actually go back to work. I was going to just take it easy. I also am retired from the National Guard after 33 years. Oh. So I have other income streams. And when the pandemic hit, I just got bored. I was just locked in, couldn't do anything I wanted to do, couldn't go outside the house. And I thought to myself, okay, what are people going to need help with? Businesses are in trouble. And I came across one of your ads. And on a Friday and Monday, I was in the class. I just said, "Hey, this looks great. I'm in," and I enrolled.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You actually found us on a Friday.
Yep.
And then the next week you were in class?
Yeah, I called up right away. I said, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is something I could do from home. I could help people, and it's not going to be full time. Exactly what I wanted.
Well, I'm fascinated by this. I'm just going to hinge around here for a couple seconds because we have people that look at us for like 6 years before they pull the trigger. I think our average time is about 4 to 5 months, to be honest with you.
Yep.
But you just did it in like 48 hours. I mean, what was it about us that made you feel comfortable?
I read all the. I've been in finance my whole life. I'm a CPA by trade. I've worked in banks. I work for hedge funds. I work for brokerages. So I understand the finance industry pretty well. And I looked at what you guys provide as far as training. I said, this is exactly what I need. Something like I don't have to go far for. I can take it from home. Okay. I researched all your contacts that day. I said, the success rate. And I just said, this is going to be some good training. I said, I just can't go wrong with it.
Right.
And I actually signed up for the first package. And during the course, I went up to the, I forget the exact gold, platinum. The second level course.
Okay. So you sign on for gold, and then at what point did you upgrade? Doing that week? Doing the training?
That week, yeah, before the course ended. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, wow, that's an interesting story. It's happened before, but I'm always curious what goes through your mind, being that you committed that quick to someone that looks at us for 3 months or 3 years. So you were rocking and rolling. So tell me about that week. Tell me about that week that you went through virtually.
Yeah, the training was great. And because I set up so quick, I didn't have a lot of time to do what I call like the pre-training, looking into like all the terms, stuff like that. So I actually retook the course again in May.
May of this year or May of 2022?
No, 2020. I took it in April. I took it in 30 days again.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. And was that a good time frame to get refreshed?
Yeah, because I just want like a lot of the terms you threw out there, the LTV, loan to value, all these things, you figure with a fire hose. And, because I set up so quick, I didn't have a chance to really research the industry that much.
Right.
So I said, okay, let me just take 30 days to do some self-training. Okay. Go back in and be prepared to answer more questions and absorb more. And it worked out really well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so after that second month happened, what was your game plan? Like, you're a military guy. You always need a plan. My father was a military guy. He always taught me that. What was your game plan after, let's say, 2 months of, training, retraining, and now it's just you, and the only obstacle between you and getting where you want is yourself. And so, like, what did you tell me about that game plan?
So I was going to originally concentrate on SBA loans. I thought that was the biggest niche in the market. There was going to be a need out there with businesses. And that was a complete mistake. Okay. And it wasn't a mistake because of what I thought. It was a mistake because there was so much PPP loan action out there.
Yeah.
That anytime anyone searched SBA, they were calling me to ask about the status of the PPP loans. So I was getting about 10 calls a day saying, hey, I applied for a PPP loan. Can you help me? I'm like, I'm not the SBA. So I didn't want to, not help these people. So I kept the number of the SBA up on my board. And every time someone called, I just gave them that number. So I had to switch my game plan up because no one was getting through to me for loans for the first couple of months. So I had to then switch to commercial real estate.
Did you, and I would ask this, if I was in your position and people kept calling me thinking I was the SBA, I mean, I would just say, hey, I got the number you could call for your PPP loan, but do you have any other financing needs?
I did that every time. And most of the people that were calling me were in the PPP loan of $5,000. They weren't.
Players. They weren't players.
Yes. Yeah. I did have one guy call me about a PPP loan. Okay. Quite hysterical. He calls me up he's in Baltimore, and he tells you that he wants to get a PPP loan for his ladies. Okay. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me about what they do. He goes, well, it's an all cash business. Okay. And my ladies aren't working now. I'm like, all right, I got what you're doing here. Okay. So the guy was basically a pimp.
He wanted a PPP loan for his prostitution business. Wow.
I'm like, I'm sorry, I just can't help you. Sorry.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, we had a lot of those too. Because we were pretty big with PPP.
Yeah.
We did this under $1 billion worth. And it was like, yeah, we had some wild and crazy things. Like one that comes to mind is we had a guy in the middle of nowhere out west. It was like in a town of like 10,000 people. And he claimed he had this pizza restaurant, which we looked up the pizza restaurant, and it was a place that was like a little tiny hole in the wall strip mall. And he claimed he had 50 employees. And it's like, I don't even think you could fit 10 people in there, and because, try to get more PPP money. So this is funny. Okay. So commercial real estate. So tell me, I mean, did you make that one of your product concentration areas when you left the course, that you wanted to focus on real estate?
I was originally going to focus SBA and then switch to real estate. Because one of the things it's like when I left the course, you talked about how to set yourself up for, you're making your daily money, your monthly money, and then the home runs.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so I was finding that the daily money was very distracting, the MCA loans and stuff like that. And since I have another income stream and didn't want to really work the 40 hours a week, I said, okay, I'm just going to concentrate on the big stuff. That's what I'm going to focus on, because I can take the time in between the deals. All right. I don't, if someone's doing this to feed their family, they got to have that, daily, that monthly, and those big home run type of loans out there. So sure. I kind of dropped off the MCA world, the receivable financing and stuff like that. Although it's very profitable, it wasn't something I really wanted to focus on. So I kind of like shied away from that.
Okay.
I just went for the bigger numbers.
So the bigger numbers. Okay. And so, through did the pandemic treat your business, meaning this business, well for you? Did it
it worked out extremely well, because a lot of people started surfing the net and would do Zoom calls for information, as opposed to wanting to meet you in person. So it allowed me to attract more clientele, I think, across the country than I would have before the pandemic.
Well, and plus, I mean, I remember when the pandemic in 2020, a lot of banks you couldn't even walk into. I mean, you had to actually schedule an appointment if you wanted to meet somebody face to face. So that proved well.
And a lot of banks stopped lending. I mean, I picked up one client who was doing a Ben and Jerry's, his second Ben and Jerry's store. Okay, his first store was very profitable. He was not a full-time owner; he was a part-time owner.
Yeah.
So he had other income coming in. Wells Fargo dragged their feet with him for 3 months, and I was able to close a loan with him in 5 days.
Wow. And now 2021. So, you're kind of coming out of the pandemic, although these days it seems like we're still in it with, the 30 variants out there. But 2020, how did 21, the start of 2021 fare for you in the last 12 months?
I was under the impression coming into 2021 that the real estate market was going to crash. Okay, that was my prediction. The exact opposite happened. Okay, especially in some of the states like Florida, where they're just building like crazy.
Right.
It's the amount of buildings going on in Florida. I have one huge development for $200 million going up in Marion, South Carolina right now. And so it's the amount of the construction that's going out there is insane right now. I have a $100 million condo complex in Florida. I'm helping to assist with right now. It's just the building is just insane, and the big banks aren't lending.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for that second tier lenders right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, by the way, I'll since we're in the course of a natural conversation, I know this is being recorded, but Prime is actually coming out with a really neat product, and we're the direct lender to fund very large deals, large real estate deals, particularly ground up development. So probably end of first quarter, we're going to launch it. We already have it in place. We've already funded $170 million transaction in Atlanta. So that's get excited for that, because it's
definitely, because it's
be a really,
the lenders are few and far between for those big deals.
It is, for sure. And I definitely saw a niche and been working on it for about a year now to get this to pull this together. But outside of that, so yeah, real estate's on fire. You're not the first graduate who has professed that. A lot of graduates. Whereabouts are you located?
I spent half my year in New York and half my year in Florida.
Okay, so you're a bird. Okay, you fly.
I'm sitting in Florida now.
Okay, all right. I don't blame you. I wish I was. I was just in Florida actually for New Year's. I was in Miami, but
okay.
So real estate, and that's what you gravitate towards too. Tell me about from your previous career and what you did to now, what translated well over and what didn't? Like, where did you have to readjust to this industry compared to what you did before?
I think understanding the financial statements transitioned really well.
Okay.
Someone sends over their financial statement. I can also read between the lines. Some of the deals, I have one now. You get these restaurants. Okay, a lot of it's all cash business.
Right.
And I try to explain to them, listen, you got to get something in your tax return, or you're just not lendable. It's a balancing act. Do you want to beat the government, or do you want to get a bank loan? You know what I'm saying? Like you
can't have both. You can't have both.
Yeah, and so that's the that's the thing. The other thing that did not translate well is a lot of, I would say, fraud, and I wouldn't say dishonest people. They just kind of skew the truth. Like, what's your FICO score? 750. We pull it out, it's 650. I don't know what happened. It was 750 yesterday. It's like, all right, listen, you got to be upfront and honest. It can be the full situation, or I try and help someone, interview them for, in the initial interview, and I find out, okay, everything looks great. And they had a bankruptcy 2 years ago. Like, just, you got to tell me up front, or I can't help you.
No, that's good advice. And I think a lot of grads are maybe not as upfront as you, which is a good trait, where they just take the bar for granted. They take what they say as Bible, and, and then it ends up slowing the deal down or killing the deal because, things come out where it sounds like to me, you're doing the proactive approach.
I ask
problems up front.
Yeah. I ask my clients to send me a snapshot of their FICO score. This way it stops it right there. Just take a picture from any credit card or your Experian account, just send it over to me. This way I have it in front of me so we know exactly where you're at.
Yeah. No, that's a good practice. And it sounds like, talk to me about your pipeline. How big is your pipeline now presently? I mean, you got some stuff in motion, you got some good deals in there. Talk about that.
Yeah, I got some, I'll do deals from $50,000 to $200 million. What I did was, with the smaller deals tend to take up more of your time. So I've actually just added 3 employees. Okay. And
Okay.
so what I do is I feed them deals now, and I kind of train them along, and I split 50-50 with them. So I rather have, three, if I'm making $100, okay, now I got three guys, I'm making 150 and they're all making 50.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's what we talked about.
Out well. And my goal is to try and just really manage them and get them in. The bigger deals they can't handle. You need more training for that. So like one of the big deals I have, which is a unique one, it's a $100 million auto F&I deal. Okay. And it's a little confusing, but what these guys do is they lend money to dealers, car dealers. Okay. And they drive their warranty business to them, and they provide the insurance product. And so it's very profitable. For every dollar spent, it's 50% return on investment. And so they're looking for tranches of $10 million for a total of $100 million. So they put in $10 million into the market, and then put another 10 million, 10 million, 10 million. And over 4 years, they'll have $100 million in the market.
Got it. That's an interesting deal. Very interesting.
It's taken me probably 4 to 5 months, where now I'm finally about to close in the next 30 days.
Wow. What's the potential takedown for you on that?
It could be between $1 and $2 million for me.
Wow. Congratulations. I wish you the best of luck to that. That's a huge win. Huge win. I know you purchased our higher tier package, or you upgraded, I should say, to platinum, which a lot of people do, but how has it been working with our team?
Teams are great.
Yeah.
The teams are great, that they're very responsive. They provided me a lot of great leads. I couldn't be happy with them. I am adding on different marketing services now to my program to expand more.
Sure.
I want to, grow my employee base.
Yeah.
And I think if I add more marketing services to that from the outside, external from CCTG, I can expand the base. And one of the big areas that I'm doing with my employees, I asked each one to pick a specialty. So I got one that's working in the underserved community, the veterans, the women, minorities, LGBTQ. I got one who's going to work on cannabis. Okay. And cannabis is huge right now.
Yeah. Huge sector. Yep.
Hard to place, because you got a lot of people living in their mom's basement to age 40 now think they're going to be a cannabis grower. Okay. And have no assets, no income.
Sure.
And they're just applying for a license.
Yeah.
But so I get probably 50% of the cannabis deals that come across our desk are dreamers, who just think because they're pot smokers their whole life are going to be, a cannabis dispensary.
In a cannabis business, right?
Yeah, so
that's like saying you fill up your car with gasoline, you're going to be in the oil and gas business.
It's the same. Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. And I got one guy who's going to specialize in marinas.
And what?
Marinas, boat yards.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Marinas. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's with the pandemic, boat yards and RV dealerships, they've hit it big, because so many people have money to spend now. If you want to order a boat, it's a 6-month wait. RV is almost the same thing. So these RV deals and boat deals want to really expand right now. They're looking for capital. Yeah,
I think the people who had money, I mean, we saw that when the pandemic hit, when things shut down. I mean, people want to be isolated a little bit. People want to be on their boat. It's something that you can do during the pandemic, obviously, right? So I get it. Well, that's interesting. I mean, you hired people, so you've been at this hard and strong, man. It's just yourself, right? I mean, I know you have employees, but it's just you attended this yourself, not with a partner.
Been myself, yep. And it's been a great run. It's funny. It's also an offshoot of this is one of my first clients needed to replace a $5 million loan that they have with Bank of America, and I helped them with that. And then he started showing me his piece of technology he developed for his business, and now I'm actually also his part-time CFO. So we're looking to actually take that company public in the next 2 to 5 years. So
wow.
It's been so my dream of working part-time that has not been fulfilled.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good thing. I take it. I always say, listen, man, you could do this part-time, but I mean, I love the industry, and why would you? I mean, I want to do more. You always want to do more of it. So, I mean, part-time is fine if you have that mindset, but
we don't say part-time. It's weird. Like I start my day 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't end to 8 o'clock at night. But I'm down here in Florida at 12 noon, I'll go on to the beach for an hour, then I'll come back to work. So my hours are 12 hours a day, but I might go run to town for a half hour here.
They're broken up. Yeah. Well, and you work out of your home too, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. And how's that been with your family?
That's been great. Great. It's tough teaching my kids and my wife how to, hey, I'm on the phone. Don't disturb me. But
I know. And how does your family? Did your family / your wife not appreciate? That's the wrong word. Did they support you with the new venture, or were they a little skeptical?
My wife was the one who I pointed out on the couch on that Friday, said, hey, I'm thinking about doing it. She goes, do it. Just do it.
You're shitting me, really?
Yep. She said, you need to do something. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I got to tell you, that's quite a different experience than a lot of our grads do with their wives. I mean, a lot of the wives are like, hey, I'm going to cut your head off if it's, like they threaten them if it doesn't work. But I mean, your wife just said she must trust your intuition.
Well, she was talking about for months and I should just start my own business. She's saying you just do something, do something for yourself, start your own business. And I said, this just landed at the right time, the right thought, I was in the right frame of mind to think about it.
Yeah.
It just all lined up.
You talked about, well, let me ask you two questions and they're quite different, but what is the thing that you absolutely love about the business?
I love helping people.
Okay.
That's why I say my loan size is from 50,000 to 200 million. Do I want to do $50,000 loans? I don't. Okay. But I can't turn away people. I'm saying there's people who have dreams, that when I succeed, it just gives you such a great feeling inside.
Sure.
When you do a $200 million loan, okay, you made your wallet rich, but the guy you deal with is already wealthy. So you're not really helping him out.
Right. What do you hate about the business? What sucks about the business? Number one thing.
For somehow I've gotten on the long list of telemarketers, and they call me literally 10, 12 times a day trying to sell me solar panels, to upgrading my website, to talking about my Google listing, to tell me my company credit card's been expired. I mean, all kinds of crazy phone calls to try and either annoy me, steal my identity, or sell me services I don't need. That's been like the worst. It's increased tenfold since I opened the business.
Well, that's because I think you opened a business, right? Yes, I mean, that happens when you open a business. There's databases that know, okay, here's a new entity that was formed, and you get on that list and all that other stuff. But I'm talking about day to day. In your day, what do you hate about there's got to be something you hate about the business.
There's nothing I hate about it. Something that's annoying is when a lender can't see the value of a client.
Okay.
Yeah, that gets frustrating. When I know I have a good client, okay, and the lender's just like, nah, I'm going to pass this one. It's like, no, this is a great deal. It's a great deal, and that gets frustrating. Lenders right now, I have more clients than lenders right now. That's been the biggest issue is finding those lenders that want to jump on the deals and process them quickly.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's sometimes that can be a challenge when you have, convincing a lender of the vision, or at least your experience with the borrower. But sometimes they have they may have an alternate viewpoint on it that maybe you or the borrower can't see, but the trick is matching it, right? What's one thing that now that you wish you would have known prior to getting into the business? Is there anything that sticks out in your head that you wish you would have, maybe a couple of mistakes that you made along the way here in the last, 2 years?
When I first started, it was actually, understanding what each lender is going to focus on. There was a lot of missteps. Like, no, we don't do that kind of loan. It's understanding that the first lender to call, I think, is that's just like any new step into the business. But and the lenders that especially the ones that CCTG lined up were all very, very helpful. Like, no, we don't do that. Try this guy. Sorry, we won't.
Yeah.
It's just learning that type of industry. What like for example, when I had a real estate deal, when a guy wanted to occupy 25% of the property, I called an SBA lender. Like, no, it's got to be 51% owner occupied.
Right.
It's a mistake I should have known. Okay, but I didn't. And after that one mistake, I knew it from then on out.
And that's a good point. What do you think you need to have in this business? What's one of the things you think that attributes to your success, and meaning what you do, right? Like it could be anything, personality. It could be like, what do you think? If you think back, what makes you successful in this business?
I think never quitting. This $100 million auto F&I loan that I've been told no 300 times. 300 different lenders told me no. Okay. And I just never gave up.
It's awesome.
I mean, and you think like, okay, after the 100th time, I hit family offices, I hit hedge funds, I hit lenders, and I finally stumbled across the right one. And it's funny is I actually hit them up. And it's one of the lenders. I'm not going to mention the name of the podcast, but it's one of the CCG lenders. I actually hit them up early on in the process of this loan, and I don't think I framed the client right.
Yeah.
So they said, we're going to pass. And I'm dealing with them on another large project. And they said, you have anything else out there? And I actually forgot, because I've been to 300 different lenders. I mentioned this project before, and I framed it the right way and said, hey, we're very interested in this project. And I went back to my notes, because I keep very detailed notes of who I went through. I said, oh, I already pitched these guys this project. So it's how you frame these unique deals to the lenders is how you get through the door.
You know, and that brings up an important point about the story, right? I mean, a lot of times it's so important for the broker to get the story right, because that's, to your point, you outlined the scenario, but you didn't frame it right, and the lender wasn't interested, but then they re-engaged. That's great. That's great. So let me ask you just a couple of personal questions. First of all, what does POM stand for?
Peace of mind. Peace of mind.
That's what made you choose that POM Capital and Funding Services. Yeah, peace of mind.
The palm tree is my logo. That came from Florida.
That's great. What is something that somebody meeting you for the first time wouldn't normally know about you, like a unique thing about yourself that you don't really portray?
I'm a disabled veteran. I served 33 years in the National Guard, retired as a colonel. I was at Ground Zero for 4 months.
Wow.
Deployed to Iraq. In Baghdad as infantryman. I got the Bronze Star. I'm a combat infantryman. That's something you know about me. I have a love for animals. People don't necessarily know that either. I love my dogs. I love pets, all kinds of animals.
Yeah. Well, thank you for serving our country. That's
welcome.
Yeah. We have a lot of veterans that are that have been through this training. So you're an airborne ranger. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Wow. What's that like?
39 parachute jumps. It's funny I've got 39 parachute jumps, airborne rangers, scaled off mountains, jumped out of helicopters, propelled out of helicopters. And for some reason, after 9/11, I'm now afraid of heights. It's like, I don't know what snapped, but now I'm just definitely afraid of heights.
What does it feel like to parachute out of a plane?
It's a great feeling. I want to do it again one more time in my life, but it's an incredible feeling, just floating in it, because you can leave with such a noisy plane, and all of a sudden it's just quiet.
It's quiet.
It's floating down. It's great.
Do you feel the sensation of floating all the time, or does that wear off when you get to a certain point? I always wondered about that.
When you get close, you're floating until you get close to the ground and actually feel, because the goal of parachute in the military is not for a soft landing. It's to get you to the ground as fast as possible without breaking your legs.
Right.
So you don't stand up when you come down for the parachute. You got to roll to not break your legs. And so you don't realize how fast you're moving to get within about 50 yards of the 50 meters of the ground. And also you're like, oh no, here comes the ground. Get ready. It's going to hurt.
But I mean, like when you jump out of the plane, you obviously experience free fall. Okay.
You're attached to a wire. You're attached to a static line, and it actually snaps the chute out of your back. So I don't free fall. I did mass.
Okay. All right. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yes, there is about 4 seconds of free fall before your chute opens.
Yep.
But then you're jerked because you're attached to the moving plane, like an umbilical cord of a baby. Okay.
Wow.
And what it does, it snaps your chute out, and you get dragged by the plane. And then the line is designed to break at a certain weight. So the line breaks and your chute opens.
Wow. So, all right. So you're not in free fall all the time. You're
about 4 seconds of free fall, which is just nothing. And you snap back in as the plane grabs you. Okay. And then snaps your chute open.
Interesting. I didn't know that. If you weren't, if you could try or automatically transplant yourself into another career, it doesn't matter what it is, without going through all the qualifications or education, what would you be in another life?
I like farming. I always had a vegetable garden. My grandfather was a farmer. On Long Island, he basically got bought out because the housing market took over the farms on Long Island.
Sure.
But I always love vegetables. It's a quick turnaround. You plant in the spring, you pick it in the summer. It's a quick satisfaction.
You have a garden now? You have a garden now?
Not in Florida. I have one up in New York.
Why wouldn't you have one in Florida?
I'm not here enough. I leave in the spring. I go back.
All right.
The only thing about being a farmer I wouldn't like this, because I love raising animals, but I don't know if I can take animals to a slaughterhouse. That'd be the only problem I have.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that would be tough. That would definitely be tough. one thing I always like to ask graduates, just to get a little personality feel, or have our viewers get a more introspective view of your personality, is if you could sit down with anybody, past or present, meaning not here or here with us, and pick their brain for 2 hours, who would that be?
I'd have to say, I think George Washington. I mean, he's our first president. He fought a revolution to start this country.
Right.
I just want to pick his brain and see, did he ever imagine that the United States would grow to where it's at, to be number one in the world, to be a world leader? I mean, we have our problems, obviously. You see the press, that side, Democrat, Republican, alt left, all right, pro-vax, anti-vax, whatever. But, and I'm not going to say nobody, but there's very few people who are starving to death in this country. Okay. There are people who go hungry with meals. Okay. There's a lot of charities that work with that. What's one of my things I choose is help the charities like the Harry Chapin Food Bank on Long Island, help people eat. But there's, when you talk about, someone who's considered poor, who has an iPhone, I mean, it's what a great country.
Here. It's a day. Actually, I saw somebody the other day right down here, because we have a homeless problem down by our office, because there's a homeless shelter couple blocks down. I pull up to the light, and the guy has an iPhone, and he's begging for change.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, we have our problems, but we sometimes just got to look around our country and just say, how great it is.
It is
how great it is. Like
out of all the and I think a lot of the youth don't realize that. I hate to dwell on millennials or the youth, but a lot of times they don't get it, in my opinion, compared to the rest of the world. We really are a good country. I mean, in terms of how fortunate we are, if you look at the rest of the world, it's vastly different. Tell me about one thing I wanted to ask you when we brought up your military experience. What are the similarities between your military training or experience into this business? Like, how does running this business and some of those traits you developed in the military translate into this?
Well, the military is very big on planning, executing, and never giving up. And so I think, the way I plan my day on who I'm going to call, how I'm going to plan, right, okay, and how I'm going to execute, and how I'm going to never give up is what translated from the military. It's all about, the military is big on documentation, and keeping notes and understanding where you're going and what you're planning. I think that's what really has helped me well in this business.
That's great.
With my employees, one of them, two of them are ex-military as well. One's a West Point grad, one's still a captain in the National Guard. And I could see a difference between them and my other employee who has a military background, as far as, planning and executing, note taking, not in a bad way, but just I could see the difference.
Meaning, like, one did the formal book, like the book smart way, West Point, but didn't actually serve in the military,
He served for 4 years and then got out.
And then got out. Okay.
And then I have 3 employees, and one has no military connection at all. So the one has the one has no military connection at all. I could see, like, it's to get him to where I want to go, just takes a little extra step. Yeah. And he's also younger too.
Sure. Well, usually the younger people you can mold.
Yes, he's very aggressive, very good. I just got to, he's like this Energizer buddy, just all around the room. I got to get him to go straight as opposed to left, right.
Yeah. You got to guide people for sure.
Yeah, and I will have confidence in the world he's going to be successful, without a doubt. He's already got some loans he's ready to close. He's only been with me for 30 days, so he's well on his way.
That's awesome. Congratulations with that. We've come to this point in the podcast. Well, feel free to ask me anything. It could be anything underneath the sun, personal. It could be, anything. Doesn't have to even be business-wise, but we call it kind of flip the script, and your chance to ask me maybe a couple of questions.
Sure, I'll ask you one that you asked me. So what would you do if you weren't doing this business? What job would you take?
Oh, that's an easy one. That's definitely an easy one. I would be a professional F1 race car driver.
All right.
I would absolutely be that. Yes. Because I'm a big car guy. I love automobiles. I love racing. And I could just plant myself and be good, mind you, I'd be an F1 driver.
All right. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. You get to travel the world and do cool stuff and drive 200 plus miles an hour. What else? Anything else?
You've been doing this for a long time. So where is this industry going in the next 5 years? I mean, I have high hopes that it's going to keep increasing as people look for alternative labor. What's your view on where we're going in the next 5 years in this?
My view, it's funny. I just got done with another podcast about 2 hours ago with another graduate in 2021, but he asked me kind of the same question. And I think this business is just going to get better and better. I mean, I think he asked me more specifically, where do we see certain pockets of industry going? And I said, I think real estate's here to stay. I think real estate's going to be good, particularly is still on fire. It's going to be on fire in a good way. And I kind of told him, I think particularly the multifamily class is exploding because, even if we see interest rates rise up a little bit, due to inflation, that's going to cause a certain portion of, people that can't afford a home because it's going to push them out of affordability with rates and home mortgages and such. So they're going to be looking to, have an apartment. So I think multifamily is a huge, is an asset class that keeps growing. Same thing with fix and flip. So I think real estate is safe to bet, but I think throughout this, I'm not too concerned in 4 or 5 years of what the next variant is. I think we're all going to learn how to adjust. And I don't mean by coming out with another vaccine. I'm just saying at this point, we've learned to live with COVID, right? I think businesses have learned to adjust with COVID, via working at home, alternate shifts, and, and even restaurants adjusting, right? I mean, we've come across a lot of restaurants readjusting their, going through takeout. So I'm not worried about a health scare too much because I think we figured that out. At this point, the only thing that worries everybody is inflation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how far that's going to go. But with any negative that happens in the economy, there's opportunity. And that's the great thing. I'm not too worried about the model that you have, the model that we have, because there could be certain pockets that could be affected due to that. But, there'll be other pockets that open up. And that's been my experience in this business for 22 years. Whenever something happened, even when, the biggest one was the crash of 2008. There were products that basically vanished, but there are other products that exploded in a good way. So I'm used to it. I'm used to it. But I think the next 4 or 5 years are going to be a good time, particularly for people in our business. I'm not just saying that because I'm on this podcast. I truly believe that.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the restaurants, it's funny. When COVID started, there was a new restaurant in my town. I said, oh, they're never going to make it. I feel so bad for them. They spent all that money. And what they did was they built actually a drive-in theater in their parking lot. And people pulled in with their cars and got served and watched the movie. And that's how they survived.
Brilliant.
And they adapted. And they were one of the first ones to put a tent up outside. And they survived and thrived in this marketplace.
I saw a couple of luxury, what I would call really high-class restaurants that, if you prior to the pandemic, if you said the word takeout, it's like a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
And they adjusted. They revamped their menu, their online ordering system, and so their food, they've become great that you take a date on or you do a very expensive dinner. They just adjusted the takeout. People ate it up. People loved it, and they flourished. So people, and that's another thing too, right? I think in the military, although I never served, but my father did. He was in the Marines. You have to learn how to adapt because things change. Things don't always go as planned, right? Yeah. And if you're not successful at adapting, then you're dead.
Yeah. We saw that anyone who was able to adapt succeeded and thrived, and anyone did not die during the pandemic.
Correct. Absolutely. Well, listen, this has been great. I think, I commend you for, taking this business, seriously. And it sounds like, I know you're a go-getter, and sounds like you're very successful, you're growing, and I wish you nothing but success here in the future. And thank you for taking the time out to, in the middle of your day here, to be on this podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Entrepreneurs in Finance. Again, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see all future episodes moving forward throughout the year. All right. Thanks, Kris.
Thank you.
Thanks for seeing this. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, bye.
There are just too many commercial loan brokers that don't have a damn clue of what they're doing. All we're trying to do here is better the industry for everybody. At the end of the day, you can make great money in this industry, but in the end, it's all about helping people. People always say, Kris, how can I be a successful broker? It's 2 words, hard work and dedication. If you don't like talking to people, you probably shouldn't be in this business.